Hello and welcome to the M Word, where we have uncensored conversations on all things marketing. We're your hosts, Jennifer Mulchandani
and Heather Michaelgard. For Season 2, our conversations are focused on brand. Listen in for ideas you can use for your brand. Enjoy today's episode. Today we are talking to Evelyn Powers with Design Powers. Evelyn started her business as a graphic designer in 1996 so she could work from home and be with her kids. She grew the business into a website and design company serving medium to large-sized companies. In the summer of 2021, Evelyn again pivoted to serving small businesses as she wanted to work more closely with business owners.
Evelyn talks about the psychology of brand and why it is so important to infuse emotion into your brand identity and strategy. Evelyn's quick wit and humor add some color to her experience and design expertise. We talk about big brands like Apple and Hollywood and even name drop a few locals. Enjoy the show. Welcome, Evelyn. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much. I love to be here.
That's awesome. Well, this season, you know, we're talking all about brands, so you were a very obvious target guest for us because
really,
I enjoyed.
You were stalking me.
Yes. I enjoyed you did a great job marketing the fact that you took your own business, which has been around for
since the Bronze Age.
Yes. Through your most recent rebrand. So we thought, who better to bring in than not just somebody who for a living creates brand icons,
right?
And beautiful websites, but has her own business for 20 plus years and rebranded. So
well, I am honored, Jennifer and Heather, who I finally get to meet, even though I guess I've known you for several years now.
Well, yeah, we worked together before I even met Jennifer.
I know. Yeah, you did some social media for a client of mine, Condo One. Yeah.
While you were doing their website.
Yep.
See, it all comes full circle.
2 degrees of separation. That's in Arlington. We all know each other,
That's right? I think we need the Kevin Bacon equivalent, like to a local person, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably John Murphy.
Yes.
Karen Bate, definitely.
So there's John Murphy, Karen Bate, and Greg Hamilton.
Yeah, you're right. Greg Hamilton. Probably Kate Bate, too.
Yes.
Bates. I always get confused.
The Karen and Kate. Let's step back, though.
Sorry, I know. We've already segued into the rabbit hole.
Let's see how many names we can drop in a small conversation. What is brand to you, Evelyn?
Brand is big skies, tumbleweed, double R, cattle screaming. No, I wanted to say that because, that is actually what branding was. Do you know that the word brand means to burn? Did you know that? I think you guys should do a whole podcast episode on the etymology of the word brand.
Well, as long as we can work in Yellowstone.
Yeah, I want to watch that. I'm not going to I know. So really, though, back to the intent of your question, the word brand means the emotional and psychological associations that someone makes with your business, your product, or your service. Emotion and association are the two words that I think of because we are what binds us is shared values, and your brand is, expressing those values and then how you execute on those values.
It's deep stuff.
But that is really what it is, and to really like do the 360, you figure our whole planet, what kind of ties us together is shared imagination, culture, communication, connection, conduits. It's all in our head. See.
So you're a company and you want to make these psychological impressions upon people.
Emotional, yeah.
Emotional.
Yeah, because you don't want to make it too head trashy. But
I will come back to that in a minute.
I actually got some great
examples of that.
Yeah, for sure.
So from your perspective, like how do you go about creating that? How do you, like, what aspects of a company are in a company's control to make those emotional connections?
Well, it's definitely industry specific, but like here's a great example, and I feel like it's the first real example of the brand psychology. 1984, Apple computer. What did they do? They had someone, it was during the Olympics, and they had someone come and, crash like the corporate man, right? And they never showed the computer. Like it was the first time ever where that whole sort of brand positioning based on value and aspiration, and it was not product focused at all. So, of course, Apple is the master at, taking essentially hardware products, right? I mean, and really imbuing all the emotion and psychology and all the things that make us us, right? And yeah, so I would say, again, sort of depending upon the business and the industry, it's expressing your passion and then expressing it consistently in a way that people understand it.
But I think how do you get a company who has been so focused on their service or their product to think about the emotion that they want others to feel? Like, I think it's hard to get people to think that way, because a lot of people think brand and they think, well, that's our logo, that's our website. It's these
right.
things
they
that
think brand identity.
Right.
It's complex now because everything is specialized and niched, and what used to be a profession of gatekeepers, right? You had graphic designers, and you had newspaper people, and you had magazines, and sort of all these traditional ways in order to get your message out. Now you have the world, and I'm holding up my iPhone, right? You have the entire world. So now what I see happening is that has shifted now to authenticity, trust, consistency, showing up in this very personal way, which is why the personal brand has become a thing. And then allowing, like if you're a bigger company, allowing for sort of those individual voices to be heard. But to really answer your question, there is really no total way to control your brand anymore. I mean, you can manage it as best as you can, but there's not, as I said, there's not the gatekeepers there. There's not a way to, that you're always going to have haters. How about that? You're going to have lovers and you're going to have haters.
Yeah.
And how much do you want to expose yourself and, go down the rabbit hole of that?
Yeah, and if you don't want to manage it, don't go on Twitter.
I'm not on Twitter. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I have a Twitter account, but it's too toxic. And for my ideal client, it's not where they are. So, if I was in public affairs or, something that's more journalistic or political or things of that ilk, that's where you have to be on Twitter. Or even when I was actually doing real estate websites for a little while there, I was on Twitter just in terms of wanting to follow the influencers in that industry. But then I ultimately decided it wasn't really what I wanted to niche in, and I felt Twitter became toxic as of 2016.
So let's shift gears a little bit to your own, how you built your business or how you built your brand, because you've been around for, as we established, ever.
Right.
How the evolution of that brand, and how did you translate that into your outward your own marketing?
So, I have been in business since 1996, and originally my business was graphic design. And, it was almost, yes, the internet was around, but it was not what it is today. So I did a lot of work, and I say that I had a business, but honestly, it was really, I created a at-home job for myself. I wanted to have kids, and I didn't want to have to commute, so I wound up getting freelance clients that gave me regular work, and I stayed at home with my kids, and I was perfectly happy to do that for 10 years. I didn't market. I did a little bit of networking, things like that. But around 2005 is when I was like, this whole internet thing's starting to take off. And of course, people
were. You became Southern.
I went back to my root now. People were asking me too to design their website, and I'm like, graphic design and website design are very different things. So I kind of still hemmed and hawed, but I started to try and learn it more and more. And then really, when both my kids got into high school, I started to take classes like hardcore and do masterminds and things like that, and then started to take on website jobs, because there's nothing that makes you learn something than for someone to pay you to do it. And I actually wound up getting a very big job, and I was like, oh shit, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. So, I just began to immerse myself in the communities, the best practices, all the stuff. And then really over time, and then the other thing that happened is my niece began to work with me. She interned with me in 2015. And then I was also doing I was doing lots of different things to kind of expand my horizons and my mind shifts. And when my niece graduated college in 2018, honestly, I thought she was going to go and work at a design firm. And she said, no, Anna, I want to work with you. So then I remember going, okay, I'm making this shift. You got to make this shift with me. So we actually did a mastermind together, which was a very good thing to do. And then we also shifted from WordPress to Squarespace. And the reason that's important is because WordPress, I felt, was an ideal platform for nonprofits, bigger companies. We wanted to start working with smaller businesses. I felt like Squarespace was easier, actually, for the business person. For us, it didn't really matter. And so we worked for 2 years primarily with that niche. And then we decided to rebrand because our website the messaging that we had wasn't distinct enough. They didn't provide that clarity of all that work and the decisions that we made. So I've been doing a lot more blog writing, and I wanted to be able to write a series of articles about what it took to rebrand as a small business, as an instructional way to say, hey, I just did this too, so this is what I need you to do. And so, I kind of like redid my home office and showed what that took, because, obviously your space is part of your brand. And then we did professional photography, and I got a stylist, hair, makeup. I got a professional photographer, did several different locations. And then the final thing was to redo our brand identity. And all of it was basically to be able to put together our brand message, which our foundation is design excellence, and to work for brands of conviction, meaning industry experts, people who are authorities, visionaries, artists, change makers, and they want to build a personal brand online.
What made you realize that the brand that, as you said, the messaging on your website, how you portrayed yourself, what you talked about, that there was a misalignment that needed to be addressed? Like, what was there an aha moment, or was that a gradual understanding?
I think it was gradual and an aha at the same time, because when we put the other website up, we knew what we didn't know. So it was always sort of like, this is our temporary site until we kind of make some decisions. But because it was, me and Emily sort of making this pivot, we needed to figure some stuff out. Like, you can't necessarily always know right off the bat, you got to try it out. You got to do some stuff and figure out some systems, put them in place, make some decisions, and then you can really nail down that clarity, I think.
I want to talk about the pivot, because I think a lot of times small businesses start servicing other small businesses, and eventually they want to go big. Like, I want to start doing corporate and big companies.
Right.
But you did the reverse.
Yes.
You were focused on the bigger company and then wanted to go down to the small business. Can you tell us why?
I like to work with people one-on-one or 1 to 2 decision makers. When I work for bigger entities, I found it sometimes frustrating, the lag time. Like, we execute quick, and that's just from having 70,000 hours of design experience. I mean, I've already done the work. There's not like all this stuff I have to do in order to execute. So it would be frustrating to me to do a thing and then have to wait 3 weeks. Or, have to go through all these layers of...
We don't know anything about
I know. Well, I know I'm preaching to the choir, right? And so when I finally was like, I love working with a small business owner who's an expert. I will say that, and I do say that very intentionally, because I don't work with brand new small business people. I have, and I will on occasion. As a matter of fact, we're doing something right now, but it's usually as a favor. Because as I just said about me, you really need 2 years to kind of figure out what the hell you're doing. And you're not going to bring somebody like me in when you have all these other things that you got to figure out. And a lot of times small business people don't have money to pay me. Like, you need to do some figuring out, actually get people to pay you, make some decisions, figure out your processes, and then maybe it's 2, 3, even 4 years. And then you're like, oh, I need to rebrand. Because now I know who I'm for, what I'm about, the problems I'm solving, and my stuff don't look good.
So, I mean, as a marketer, we often, we're the most critical of our own work, what we're doing for ourselves. We also often put it to the bottom of the list. So, to do this, and you did it yourself, for yourself. I mean, you hired the hair, makeup, photographer folks, but the writing, the website, the identity side of it, the putting it out public, you did all that yourself. So,
well, I did have a writer. Okay. So she's actually a client, and we bartered. We did her website, and she did our writing, because I did want to infuse our writing not with my perspective, because writing, and Jennifer knows how I feel about this, it is the most important thing on your website. And I tell my clients that too. It really, those brand associations, that's all. And then there's a whole host of other things that the writing has to accomplish, just in terms of, best practices with web accessibility, search engine optimization, just how the whole thing is put together. I mean, the writing is the foundation, and then all the other stuff comes. So I did wind up hiring a writer because I wanted an outsider's to imbue our brand. I didn't want it to come from me.
But did you have to treat your project as if it was a third, an external client, or did you get this in the margins, or?
No, we were dogged about it. I had a short window of time. Like, basically, we did the photography early July, and it launched at the end of August. So I was like, we're getting this done in the summer.
Well, and I loved that it's an investment.
Oh my God, yeah, totally.
I love makeup, hair, photography, copywriting.
Yes.
What has been the payoff, and what would you say to those who are like, oh, I don't want to spend that much money? Is there a return?
Oh, absolutely. And I would say almost immediately, because our profitability this year has practically doubled. And that is because we are attracting clients that are our ideal clients. And, it's the other thing I think that was definitely that we made a commitment to, and I actually now say this to all my clients, is don't hire us if you're not going to make a commitment to writing a blog at least once a month. Because it really, that content marketing piece, it still is just one of the best ways to organically get the right kind of traffic to your site to get your ideal client. So it's a combination, but yes, absolutely, it paid off, no question.
But now you have the benefit of hindsight. Obviously, it's working.
Yep.
Are there any aspects of it you would have done differently for yourself?
No, honestly, no. There's nothing I can think of. I felt like we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. This is I wish, we did 3 locations for our photo shoot. The last location, I wish I kind of would have had I had created a little bit more direction. I was very sort of intentional about the first 2 locations, but then by the time we did the last one, I was like, it's really hard work to be a supermodel.
You know what? It actually is really hard.
It's super hard.
This is totally off topic, but when we do content shoots for clients, we do it internally, and you stand there and you start to get posed.
Yeah.
You realize, like, oh, these people, it's work.
Yeah. Well, and luckily, like, nobody knows this, but I'm going to reveal it right now. The image on our hero on our website is actually 3 different images.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very power of Photoshop.
Because one Emily liked to her, one I liked to me, and then one like we liked the environment. And so that picture is actually a mastery of many, Photoshop layers. Yeah.
Yeah, this is brand wizardry at work.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So.
Okay, so you're killing it. I love what you've done.
Thank you.
But you got me curious earlier. You talked
Yes.
about maybe some ick out there, or some brands that are.
Oh, well, you guys had, because you gave me some questions to answer, and one of them that, of course, that I really loved was, do you ever look at a brand and just know that it is dated and needs a refresh? And I wanted to go, the Republican Party. Or even to get broader, Russia. How about that? This is a silly segue and probably like shows my age, but talk about like brand in Russia. Like, remember in the 70s, you guys are younger than me though, but like for a little while there, the Soviet Union in the mid 70s, CCCP at the Olympics, they were badass, right? Now they have the former KGB agent as their brand ambassador. They are not good. It's not a good brand. So.
No, but you know who has a really good brand?
Who?
Zelensky.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made army T-shirts hot again.
I know. Yeah. Well, and then the other one I was going to say, because I want to be fair, I don't want to just say, the Republican Party, right wing, is Hollywood. And that's what I was going to say about what just happened. That brand just took took a beating. And it wasn't just the act. I feel like actually the brand of Hollywood elites, which has been a thing for a while, I found what was so offensive, or what really I think resonated with a lot of people, is the fact that they gave him a standing ovation. But even that, then they partied with him and his Jada statuette. Right? I was just like, oh my God, they are not making any emotional or psychological connections that are good.
Well, is it possible that they were all inebriated when it happened and no one knew how to respond appropriately?
Yeah, exactly.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Did that just happen?
I know. Well, as you guys know, I love comedians. I listen to comedy all the time, so I'm hashtag Chris. I stand with Chris.
Yeah, I want to catch your next stand-up show, but before we go,
Yes.
so let's talk about your favorite brands, period. Local, national, like who do you respect? Who should we be checking out if we don't know about them?
Well, I wish I had like super, unusual creative things to say about that, but all my favorite brands start with the letter A, because I was a B student. No. Apple, Adobe, and I have to say Amazon too. And the reason I say Apple and Adobe is because I have been tied to those two brands for 35 years. They have provided me my professional livelihood. So I'm very invested in those two brands. And I think they do a phenomenal job of design excellence. And again, I mean, you have two huge companies like that. Do they always hit the mark? No, but, over the course of 70,000 hours, I just can't really say anything too bad about them. And the reason I mention Amazon, even though we all hate Jeff Bezos and his phallic rocket ship, right? is he did rewire the economies of the world in 2 decades. And I mean, that's pretty impressive, and it is a very and during COVID, Amazon was there. It could be a conspiratorial thing. Maybe they started COVID. No, so you probably should, we don't want to start a whole new thing, but yeah. Amazon is a pretty amazing success story. Mm-hmm. So you have to admire that ingenuity. Mm-hmm. And yes, I would say their brand has taken a hit because of, drivers having to urinate in bottles to meet their delivery quotas, and employees working in the warehouse can't take a bathroom break. That's not good. But at the same time, you just heard that one of the employees now is unionizing. So, things are calibrating and reshifting with that brand as it matures. I mean, Amazon's a pretty new brand when you think about it. So, and then back to local, I would say AFAC is a great brand. Self-servingly, Era Wine.
Who created?
And Arlington Chamber. Was that like not totally self-serving?
Do you only take clients that start with A?
It feels like that now. It feels like that. So, Era Wine, we are actively doing their store website. They have a Shopify site that's already online. But the reason and Jennifer and I just were talking about them, I actually really admire them, not because they hired us, but they are really doing a very, wonderful job of rebranding. They completely renovated their store like right before COVID. Then they had to sort of jam on all this online capability and delivering. And now they're doing just this amazing job in terms of the products that they're bringing in are really unusual. They have expert cheesemongers, expert beer mongers. I mean, they always had a great brand story and a great product and a great service, but now they're even making it greater. And I do really respect it, because the one thing I wish that we had more of is stores like that.
Agree.
I love going to Europe because you love those kind of stores, and to me, Era Wine is the closest thing to, a European store that you love. So,
well, Evelyn, this was a very fun conversation.
Oh, yay! Good.
If our listeners wanted to check out your beautiful website and maybe follow you on social, how would they find you?
Designpowers.com. And I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I have a Design Powers page and then also Evelyn Powers. And then we actively do an Instagram channel, which I'm hoping to try and do more reels and stuff like that. But that's kind of like, next level. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, you two.
Great to see you in 3D flesh.
Yeah. Well, I wanted, I'm into that now. Tired of Zoom. And yeah, if you guys ever want to do, anything about brand, like diving into the word brand, that could be that could be a total geeky show.
It might be. We'll take it as an episode suggestion.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
All right. Well,
thank you.
We've been listening to Evelyn Powers and Design Powers here in Arlington, Virginia. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The M Word. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter.
And we'd really love it if you would leave us a review.
Until next time, don't be afraid to be uncensored.
The M Word is an Arlington Strategy production hosted by Jennifer Mulchandani and Heather Michaelgard. Our theme music is Golden Reflections of the Sun by Vlad Glushenko.
Graphic design by Kayla Fagan. Sound engineering and editing by Ben Mulchandani and Nina Sofia Pacheco.
Editing by Nina Sofia Pacheco and Janelle Walters.